Okay, gentlemen, thanks for joining this afternoon after a full day of selling and servicing Porsches. Today has been a fun day because we recognized Danny Perez as a not only a gold certified Porsche technician, but a certified classic technician.
Yep.
And Dave, I think you said he's one of 100 or...
I think it's about 110 people worldwide that have both certifications.
Yep, so that was fun to celebrate that.
Super elite group.
Pretty spectacular
Getting
accomplishment.
The team together and a cake and some recognition and a eagerness to learn and ambition.
Mm-hmm.
It's wonderful to see all that.
And so Danny, just to dive into Danny really quick, he's one of our best classic techs. He does most of our air-cooled work, and he studied like crazy for this. So he took apart transmissions, he measured everything you could measure on an engine, and he aced the test. He did a great job. So anyways,
I
he
found out
put the
today
dedication into
that you
it.
had him take apart my transmission.
Yeah, we didn't let you in on that.
For,
But, it
some
was
coaching.
sitting there, so we figured we'd measure it.
Unbeknownst to me.
Training purposes.
No, we're happy for that, and we're gonna really piggyback on his accomplishment to help further our air-cooled service business and our involvement in that community. So we'll talk more about that later, but I wanted a couple points to talk about today that I think are just fun subjects that we have a unique perspective on because we deal with it day in and day out from both a business perspective and a client perspective. And I wanted to start with one of my favorite debates that Corwin and I have regularly, which is sport seats and adaptive seats or comfort seats, known in the Porsche world as what, Corwin?
Sofa?
Sofas.
Sofa
Sofas,
seats?
yeah.
Yes, carbon buckets versus sofa.
Right,
This is
right.
really what it becomes.
And I kind of
couch.
set you up there a little bit.
Yeah.
We call them sofas because they're tremendously comfortable. They're wonderful seats. Porsche's always made a great seat, and the seats inside of the Porsches are iconic with each era, and they don't change a lot. They just like the rest of the car. They're very much, you can have the same seat in multiple generations of cars, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of
Evolution.
unique in the car space. But the debate itself is to sport seat or not to sport seat, to carbon bucket or not to carbon bucket, right? And it's different on each car, but we can hone in on the hot topic of the day, which is GT3. And one of the reasons why this is a hot topic right now, not just because the GT3 is everybody's favorite Porsche, it's because GT3 allocation is being built right now. There's 992.2 cars coming to market as we speak. We've got 4 of them actually, which is staggering to think of, that we're expecting to show up in February. Most months you have none, right? We have 4 in coming in 1 month. And there's a lot of conversation about the way people order these cars, the way that we have ordered them for the house, to put the bucket seat in or not. And Corwin, I'd love to hear your perspective on GT3, bucket seat or sofa, as you called it.
So my opinion, it's like a 2-part answer. So because I have the wing GT3 and we have the touring, right? So I like to break it into 2 categories because I think my answer is different depending on which model we're talking about. So like with the wing, I think the bucket makes sense. It's more of the track-oriented car. It just sort of fits the bill, in my opinion. But the touring, the gentleman's spec or vehicle, it's more comfortable. I see the 18-way just working in that car better. That's sort of the feedback I get from clientele as well, is that this is more of that gentleman's build. And I think the 18-way fits that car better. That's my opinion. I like the 18-way in the touring. I like the bucket in the wing GT3.
Dave, what's your take on this?
I'm completely opposite. I think bucket in touring.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think bucket in both cars, right? It's a GT3. The wing, do you want it to be flashy, track car or flashy on the street? Doesn't matter. It's a GT3 at the end of the day. And a touring car, even more so, as a driver, I want to get in and get held in. Even though I'm kind of incognito and kind of under the radar without the wing, I still want to feel like I'm in a GT3 when I sit down in the car, when I get into it.
So let me give you my perspective on this. first off, there's two different carbon bucket seats when we think of this. There's the 918 style seat, which launched with 918 and was our bucket seat up until just recently, and just really in just the most recent production units. It was available on 992.2 up until just a few months ago when everything became the folding bucket seat, which they both have a similar level of performance and
support.
They're both carbon fiber, similar support, but one folds and one doesn't. Going back to that 918 seat, that is one of the greatest seats ever. You can put that next to any Recaro seat you've ever seen, any of the great sports seats. This is a piece of art.
Absolutely.
It is just an experience to look at, and it's certainly an experience to sit in. And when you think of it on that level, now I know we're talking about two different seats, or two different carbon bucket seats, right? But talking specifically about the 918 seat, to me, this seat will be celebrated for generations. There will be people, combing the edges of the earth to try to find these seats for their builds 20, 30 years from now.
When you look at even people building cars now, they hunt down the seats, and they're not cheap. They're expensive seats out there in the market.
Yeah, and a really desirable modification to the car, and a simple one too. Very hard to do it the other way around because of the wiring
and everything.
Yeah.
But I will say, I don't think I've ever had anybody come and say, Dave, I'm really, really looking for some 18 ways for my car.
Yeah. But you do see the other way around.
Oh yeah, people are looking for the carbon.
I agree with that. There's actually a set right now on Bring a Trailer. I was just on Bring a Trailer yesterday, like looking at vehicles and whatnot. And there's a set of bucket seats on Bring a Trailer.
What was
as
the
we
bid?
speak?
What was the bid yesterday?
The bid currently was like in the mid 5,000 range, and it's going to go way up from there. But they were like something that I think you would really like, Sean, because it was like the cognac with like pepita. Like centers. It was a very cool combo.
Did it have Wysock or anything in the headrest?
It does say something on the headrest. I feel like it was Wysock, but
a lot of times I see that on the BAT listings, and it's like that's such a unique. It wouldn't fit for every
has to
build,
go into
right?
a Wysock.
Or it'll say
which already had that anyways.
There was a lot of these that came out of GT4 cars, and so those aren't as broadly applicable, right?
Right.
But so back to the debate, and I love this debate. And so I wanted to make that point of reference that we're talking about the greatest, possibly the greatest seat in automotive, versus a nice seat.
Yeah.
Right.
So let's go to the greatest seat still, the 918 seat. Now, when you talk about a gentleman's car, you kind of think it needs to be comfortable. I think that car, it's a little hard to get into, right?
It is.
Once you get into it, it's one of the most comfortable seats on the planet.
Once you're in, you're good.
Yeah, and you only get in and out twice per drive, right?
There's a technique for getting in and out.
And once you learn it,
it is a little on the steering wheel. You hold the rocker.
Throw a leg over.
It works. It works.
Balance.
You could say it's a younger man's seat, but I think that goes. I think that goes pretty far.
Yeah, I think we're all young at heart.
Yes, young at heart seat. Here's my. I think my final thought on it is when we talk about GT3. To me, and we'll talk about GT3 Touring because this is the sweetheart, the darling car.
Yes.
The GT3 Touring, I can see why people would say, "Oh, we'll put a comfortable seat in it, put back seats in it, because this is a touring car," and I get that. But really, why do you choose a GT3 instead of a 911 Turbo, instead of an S or GTS? And it's because you're craving a next level experience, right? And unfortunately, much of the driving that we do every day is stop and go traffic. You're waiting at a traffic light. You're behind somebody else, and you're not always ripping the car.
When this kind of pulls into a totally different debate, right?
But
Turbo versus GT3,
which I'm excited to have that. But when you're sitting in that carbon bucket seat at a stoplight behind a grocery getter, you're still having a GT3 experience. Mm-hmm. That's why we want these cars. And if you put the 18-way adaptive sports seat in the car, and it's a lovely seat, I feel like you've lost a bit of that GT3 experience. Yeah, the car's just as fast. It still revs to 9,000 RPMs and does all these great GT3 characteristics. But your experience in that car will not be the same because much of your driving will be in and out of parking lots and and stop and go. And in a sports seat, you get the full experience all the time.
I agree.
That's why I think it's so important. Now, here's another thought on that. Such a surprise to me, because to me a GT3 should have sports seats, should have ceramic brakes. You need front axle lift. There's these sort of like you just check the boxes, right? Yeah. I've been so surprised to see in folks ordering their 992.2s, and these are people who have great taste and seemingly experience with these cars. Everyone's ordering what seat?
They're ordering the 18 ways.
Yeah.
I mean, we've actually had
That's right.
several opportunities, missed because we didn't have an 18-way in a specific car, right? So it seems to be the trend right now, but I think there's something else to this that we're discovering as well, right? With Porsche changing to that folding bucket seat, they've taken away the customization aspect. That to me, like from the design, from the sitting down and building a car with a client, it really takes away that customization when you can't do the different colors and different special touches to the interior with that folding bucket. So with the 18-way, you can get your cognac, right? You can get your Riviera Blue or Guards Red, or like these beautiful color combos. You can only do the exclusive manufacturer now with the 18-way, whereas previously you could have done it with the bucket seat. And that was one of the cool things I was going to say about the previous generation bucket. I'm with you on that. I loved that bucket seat. I thought it was the best seat I've ever experienced. And you could get the customization, so it checks all the boxes. This new bucket seat, it does have more flexibility. It folds. To me, it's like a little wider, but it doesn't have the customization. So like that's, I think, what people are missing in a day and age now after COVID, right? Post-COVID, everybody wants to customize these things. Their house, their interior design, their cars, their boats, whatever it is, their watches. People are just really into spending money and customizing, getting exactly what they want, no compromise. So I think that's sort of what we're seeing now with these seats, is you're getting the 18-way buyer because they're being drawn in by this customization.
Well, and when you're buying a GT3, you want it exactly what you want.
Exactly.
You want the car of your dreams.
It's a unicorn.
Porsche is one of the few companies that you can build the car of your dreams every chance you.
It's a fantastic topic. I actually think, though, I think you make a great point, and I think that Porsche is going to be phasing in more customization. I think it's starting with deviated stitching on the new carbon bucket seat, and hopeful that you're going to have heritage and different leathers.
And that might open up down the line.
However, that aside, it seems like a lot of the feedback that I've been hearing from our customers who are ordering cars, because you're seeing black interiors, right, is it's really more of a comfort issue. It's more of a functionality issue. A lot of people they don't fit in them. They're not comfortable to them. And I really think for most people, if they just spent a little more time in the seat, they would find out that it does everything.
Once you drive in that seat, the experience changes everything. Yeah. It's the seat.
Yeah.
Including the new one, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So we talk about this all the time. Corwin and I have this debate a lot, as well as the rest of the sales team. And it's a fun one. And, look, you get the car the way that you want it. But I'll leave you with this. The GT3 experience can happen without the car even on. Right? Mm-hmm. You can sit inside the car, you can admire the car, and it's always there, and it's there in its purest form with a sport seat in the car, a carbon bucket. So let's pivot to Dave. What you were just mentioning. We were talking about GT3 and turbo.
I'm going 18-way with a turbo or Turbo S, right? So in my opinion, the Turbo S is the ultimate daily driver. It's all-wheel drive. Mm-hmm. It's one of the fastest cars on the planet. You can customize everything you want, but it's not as surgical of a tool as a GT3. I don't know how you call a 911 an all-arounder, but a turbo is kind of like the all-arounder, right?
Yeah.
It does everything perfectly, and you can be comfortable at the same time. When you want the sports car, you turn on Sport Plus. Yep. When you don't want it and you just want to drive to the grocery store, you hop in your car and you go. And it does everything perfectly, where a GT3 is so sculpted for the racetrack that it's not the best daily driver, in my opinion.
So let's expand this in terms of prestige and desirability. forget about price even, has GT3 eclipsed the turbo as the most desirable Porsche, or even the quintessential Porsche? Is it no longer turbo?
No, it's not. It's definitely not turbo. I mean, the turbo is still very highly desired, but the GT3 most certainly has more desirability right now than a Turbo S. I mean, it's sort of this debate that I have internally a lot with the price point, right? Forget the price point, as you mentioned, Sean, but they're basically at the same sort of price level, right? The Turbo S has actually even surpassed it, right? But for me, the Turbo S is the Renaissance car. That's sort of like a Renaissance man. It does everything well. But the GT3, as you mentioned, it's a street legal race car. Right? That's how I describe it. But it's that desirable, it's a more rare thing that I think people are drawn to. So I think you're always going to see the GT3, this rare car that somebody wants. The Turbo S is becoming rare. It is, I think, more rare over the years, but it still doesn't have that draw that the GT3 does.
So you would think of a Turbo S, and the new Turbo S, we're so excited about it. And when we think about our own demand through our sales department with Turbo S, this is the hot topic right now. Turbo S, right? I was on the phone with a client from Florida today who's, wants a Turbo S, and they're trying from all different distances to try to make this happen, which is similar to GT3 in that there's a very finite amount of these out there, and there's a lot of demand. The Turbo, in my opinion, has always been it's of course the flagship for the brand. It's very much the gentleman's supercar, right? But the interesting thing is, because the GT3 is really a track inspired car. If I were to say to you, Dave, which car is more gentlemanly, a exquisite spec Turbo S or a exquisite spec GT3 Touring?
Well, I would say the Turbo S, but that's kind of it's kind of a tough question, because gentlemanly could mean a lot of different things. But
think of it as class.
But
as
sure, I mean, if I wanted to hop in a car and just drive around, as a normal day, I'm not a track person, I'm not a track goer, I want to have the nicest car out there, I would probably buy a Turbo S, right? The GT3, in my opinion, is so focused that it's just a different breed on its own. It's still a 911, but it's completely different than a turbo. They're just different cars. The drivability of a GT3, it's amazing. The experience is unbelievable. You've got 9,000 plus RPM, right? The experience of driving that car is a totally different experience than driving a high torque, super high power, unbelievable sports car.
See, Dave thinks technically, right? Because he comes from a technical background. I'm thinking emotionally, and I would say that this is the irony of it. The GT3 Touring is the gentleman's supercar now, and the 911 Turbo is more of the boy racer. That's the way I see it. The 911 Turbo has sort of become more of this outrageous race car, and the GT3 Touring has replaced it as the gentleman's favorite.
And the Touring is a different topic entirely too. So, I'd still probably lean to the Turbo S.
Although their driving experiences would say otherwise, right? The driving experience of a GT3 is definitely much more visceral. So, Corwin, you said that the GT3 has really replaced the Turbo as the most desirable car in the portfolio, right?
I think so.
And, it's an interesting debate when you look over the generations. 911 Turbo is such a iconic car, and from 930 all the way to this upcoming Turbo S with the hybrid. But when you compare those cars to their GT3 counterparts, go back to 996. A 996 911 Turbo compared to a 996 GT3. Which car inspires you more?
Now?
Or then?
I mean,
now, and I just want to put it in perspective.
Yeah, to me,
this debate.
To me, it's still going to be GT3. You know, the 996 GT3 in particular, to me, really excites me.
Yeah, one of the rawest.
Yeah, so that car, you know, is...
Now, that is not a gentleman's...
No,
that is not a gentleman's...
No, not a gentleman's car, but that car just...
beast.
Oh, yeah, what a fun... I just think, like, track car, canyon crusher. Like, that car would just be a fun car to have. So I still lean that way. But
what about you, Dave?
Yeah.
So I've got
I've
got some seat time in the GT3.
You've got the most, yeah.
And I owned a 996 Turbo actually for quite a while. I commuted in a 996 Turbo. The GT3 was the sports car of the two. Mm-hmm. The Turbo was the touring daily driver. The GT3 was the car that you go out and canyon carve or hit the racetrack. It's almost like they're different cars, to be honest.
Yeah. Different personalities.
But to answer your question, the GT3 is a more desirable car now.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move up a generation to 997, and we can say .2. The Turbo .2 was, you know, an extraordinary breakthrough car, kind of like the .2 992 car is going to be. The GT3 997.2 is a legend of a car.
Absolutely.
Right? Where's the desirability between those two cars?
1,000% on the GT3.
Still the GT3.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, that's
right?
big time GT3.
It's really moving in
that
GT3
market
right
is
now, right?
Yeah, it's
soaring.
crushing the market.
Yeah, soaring right
And of
now.
course, we could say .1, you would have the same reaction, even though the .1 is the Metzer engine, and
Yep.
you know, and
That said,
true for the GT3 as well.
The Turbo .2 is kind of a forgotten car because it was such a short time span. Like that was really, we were talking about it earlier. 997s just have such an amazing driving feel to them. Like it's still kind of the last of the analog sports cars, and they were still somewhat small compared to today's cars. But the Turbo for that era, there weren't that many of them, and they've been overlooked by the GT3 obviously because it's such a spectacular car. But those Turbos were unbelievable to drive.
For sure.
They were really legendary. They were such a breakthrough. I remember being on the floor when the .2 Turbo 997 came out, and it was a giant leap in performance.
Well, and I'm going to jump into a technical topic here, but .1 to .2 was the fastest of the cars was a Turbo S .1 with a Tiptronic transmission to a .2 that went to PDK, which was even faster. But they were both faster than the stick at the time. Anyways, it was a big change in technology at that time. A new engine and a new transmission going into the .2 car versus something that was tried and true.
Direct fuel injection PDK. And of course, you could still get manuals in the standard Turbo 997. Turbo S was really the car that had volume for turbos of 997.2s, and those were all PDKs. So let's move up to 991. This is an interesting debate too, because 991.1 GT3 has some drama.
Had some technical
issues
at the beginning.
In 2014.
Yes, right, the 14s and 15s with the engine issue. And of course, that was the new Turbo S 991.1 was really another breakthrough car, evolving from the 997 Turbo and all its greatness. Let's talk about 991.1 GT3, the infamous, which I love the car, by the way, versus the Turbo.
That was I don't know. I might throw a curveball on this one because for me,
both are PDK cars.
Well,
right?
that was also when I started with Porsche, was in 2013. So I sort of 991.1 was really my beginnings, and I would almost sway towards, especially with this drama that we mentioned, but the Turbo S to me, that 991.1 was like the coolest, fastest car. Like there was a big jump in performance for 991. And then with the PDK, that car was just so fast. I would kind of lean towards the Turbo S actually for that specific 991.1 only, but I'm going to go Turbo S on that one.
It's the only one in the debate that we've had thus far where their values are actually somewhat similar. Correct. And so the 991.1 GT3 has had, it's the best value GT3 you can get.
Yeah,
one is because
sure.
it's only a PDK car, so that hurts its value, I think. But two, it's the the engine issues.
It had a branding issue. It had a
brand
start.
and titles.
It got branded.
It really struggled. So that's the only, if we compare the values of the other cars that we just mentioned, 996, 997, they favor GT3 so greatly. It's not even really in the same tier.
The next hurdle for the 991.1 GT3 was that the 991.2 GT3 was so spectacular with a manual. It just stole the show. There was nothing wrong with it. It was basically a perfect car, and it was a huge step up from the drama that we had with the .1. That the .1 just kind of got shoved out of the way and got overlooked and surpassed.
So where do you see it? Which car do you favor in the .1?
The .1, I would probably do a turbo or a .2 GT3.
That's interesting. And we're just comparing same era. So 991.1, you like the turbo better than the GT3.
I like the turbo.
Yeah. And I think that's such a fun debate, and you don't hear that often comparing those two cars. GT3 has clearly scored better up until this point.
Yeah.
And it took some serious drama and a total divergence from this perfection 997.2 manual transmission GT3. I will still favor the GT3. If you've ever driven a 991.1 GT3, which I'm sure you both have, it is a violent and visceral experience. It is. It's one of those cars where you feel like the car is broken all the time. It's making all these weird sounds and pops and
it was very
and
racy.
rattles, and it is. And people get very concerned about that, especially given the engine issues. It is such a sensory overload, and I also think that when you look at that car, there was one here just the other day, and I was admiring it, a black one. It's one of the most beautiful cars.
It has good lines.
It is such
the wing is a good
such
size.
a gorgeous design.
I agree.
So I would still favor it, but boy, I also remember the launch of that Turbo S, and it really felt like you were stepping into the future. It was such an inspiring package. So let's keep this conversation as we move into 992. We'll skip .2 991s and we'll move up to 992. So 992.1 GT3 versus 992.1 Turbo S.
That's GT3 all day long for me. And part of this is emotional, as you mentioned earlier. Just I have a connection with that. I had an opportunity with a client to go to Laguna Seca and drive their 992.1 GT3 on the track with them. That car is perfect. Like, it was so good. Just absolutely glued to the track. So I see that car just being the epitome of a track car. And so for me, that's a great GT3. and the Turbo S is amazing. The Turbo S is great, but GT3 all day for that one.
And then Dave, where do you see it?
Same. I kind of went over that already. The .2 991 was a huge improvement. The turbo wasn't that big of a change, to be honest.
Right.
Where the GT3 was a huge step up from the .1 GT3. The turbo was pretty minor difference. So GT3 .2 wins in my book. Sure.
And we're actually, so I knew you would say that. I think we would all agree that 991.2 GT3, actually skipped that, is one of the all-time great cars.
Yes.
And the values are showing it as it's really accelerates. It's rivaling 992s.
That is.
Then what we were just talking about was the 992.1, which Corwin vastly favors, as do I. I think the 992 GT3 is just a continuation of what is one of Porsche's all-time best cars, which is the 991.2 GT3. And so I think we're all kind of getting to the same. We started at the same place and we ended in the same place. It took a tremendous amount of drama and a bad engine and all these things to give our flagship car a chance to compete in desirability with the GT3. So I think that there's kind of a consensus here that not only in retrospect as we look back over the years, but also in the moment, the GT3 has really solidified its place as Porsche's true flagship car.
Yeah, I also think we're going to see, it'll be interesting to see when this hybrid, 992.2 comes out for the Turbo S side of things, because that's going to be a very good car, right? New technology, this new idea that we've seen in the GTSs. There's a lot of excitement behind it, right? Our clientele seems really pumped for this Turbo S.
Demand is massive for this car.
It might give this GT3 a run for its money.
And here's I'm going to go back to they're almost like different cars. We're comparing apples and oranges.
For sure. For sure.
And in the perfect world, you have both.
Yes.
You have the GT3.
Be a great
and
statement.
you have the turbo.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the perfect world because they are totally different cars, in my opinion. And it's hard to actually compare them side to side because they are such a different experience.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and the new 992 Turbo S, .2 Turbo S, with hybrid technology is going to be such an amazing rocket ship off the line. And just, I mean, I can't even fathom how fast this car is actually going to be. It's going to feel like...
Well, if you've driven the GTS,
Yeah.
It is an absolute rocket.
It's a beast.
And I think it's one of those cases where Porsche has they rated it 0 to 60 in 2.9, and everybody's getting way lower times out of the car. And I think they didn't want to cannibalize the .1 turbo. They needed to,
correct.
you know, the new GTS is so interesting. It'll be so fascinating to see what doing 2 turbos instead of 1 with this hybrid technology will do on the 911 Turbo S. The GTS, really, you can't imagine that you need anything more. If you look at the new GTS and you compare it to the Carrera S or 4S, it is such an enormous gap.
It's a huge
in
performance gap.
In every other GTS, which started in 997.2, that was the original GTS, these were subtle. It was basically the same engine,
Minor differences.
more performance option standard, a little bit
X51
lighter
package,
weight.
right?
Yeah.
Like 20, 30 more horsepower.
So
Exactly.
subtle differences, very desirable, well done. This GTS though is all of a sudden it's a whole other engine. It's the largest GTS to S gap that we've ever seen, and it's such a big gap that it actually rivals the turbo, the existing turbo, until this new .2 turbo comes out. So knowing how good the GTS is, hold on because the Turbo S is going to be lights out.
I'm excited.
It's gonna be amazing.
It's going to be unbelievable.
So there's nothing but good news coming. But GT3, I think, as we've established here, has really firmed its position as the Porsche 911.
It has. And we didn't even get into RSs.
Yeah.
Right. We didn't even go.
We didn't even go there.
Well, nice conversation.
Yep.
And until next time.
Sounds great.
Sounds good. Have a great night, guys.